Hey there. So now we've got to go in and adjust a little bit more of the skeleton. Let's turn the poly painting off, turn transparency on, and you can see we've adjusted for the hip, the shoulder, I'm sorry, not the shoulder, but the ribs and the legs. We have some problems. The lumbar section is not lining up, but that's fine. You know, that might mean that we have to rotate the pelvic, the hip bone around a little bit. But that's going to be in the cleanup. So what we want to do right now is get ourselves into the skeleton. Okay, actually, I'm just going to invert. We're going to show all of these guys. There we go. This is roughly what we want to be working on now, is the arms, the shoulder girdle, clavicle, scapula, all that stuff. So let's turn the painting on. Okay, let's take a look at that for a moment. You can see where we're assuming the clavicle's going to be coming in. Then the acromion process and back. Now, the acromion process in our sculpt may not match up with what we have here, but we need to match up the acromion process. What we may have to adjust later on is the length of the spine of the scapula and just how large the general shape of it might be in the glenoid cavity. But that's easy. Acromion process, that's what we need to focus on. So we can keep that up, and let's select, I'm going to clear the mask, and oops, let's go into solo. I'm going to start with the scapula. It floats, and if I anchor that, there's various things that connect to it. What connects to it? Clavicle. Okay, and then the head of the humerus. So those are the elements that are connecting to the scapula. If I place the scapula, the rest of them are going to come together. So let's turn solo off, and I'm going to draw out my action line, and I'm just looking for a general placement. Okay, and then I'll rotate that. But I'm going to rotate it with the spine of the scapula and with this line here in the back in mind. So transparency goes on, and I have a hotkey that does that. Control X. So there we go. Feel like I want to raise that a little bit, and then I want to lower the whole thing. Okay, and then from A, top view, we're going to bury that clavicle, scapula, sorry. And I'm making sure the teres major has room to come from it. Okay. All right, now I'm going to get in and do a little bit of adjustment. It's a male character, so the scapula is going to be different. You know, there's a lot more muscles attaching to it. There's a lot more stress. So I'm going to come in and use move topological, and I'm going to really lower my range. See if that'll help. Yeah. So this is going to get spread quite far, and probably should do it there from a different angle. Okay, now we're just going to keep a general reminder of how much we've increased the size of this. We can also actually just duplicate this. In fact, that's probably what I'll do. Once I got this reasonably sized, I'll duplicate it so that it minimizes my complexity later on. So, all right, there we go. Highly recommend you increase the size. Also going to increase that perch. Okay, let's see. Is the glenoid cavity going to be okay? Yes, it is. All right, next in line. Along the length, pull it up, pull it back. Okay. So we've got a mismatch, which is good. This is one of the things that we want to make sure we encounter. But first off, let's make sure it's a real mismatch. So make sure that that's in the right place. Okay. Yes. Solo. And then let's switch over to our model. Okay, I'm analyzing this real quick, and I am going to quickly go in and just move that over. Boom, just like that. Okay, that looks better. More room. Down a touch. And that fits better with what I have. Let's turn poly painting on with our other guy. And we'll have been slightly off with where I painted the acromion process. Come in here. There we go. Let's check, because we probably have to resculpt. And move topological again. It's already set up. Just trying to make sure that the volume is there. Okay, voila. All right, I feel better about how far back that's pushed, because the other thing to keep in mind is that the head of that humerus is also serving as a reminder, of how far back and how things have rotated. So it was a little too far to begin with. We have sculpted the scapula to fit, and I think we're in a good place. So the next thing that we would do is work on that arm. I'm going to mask off the other side. Just take the humerus. that again. There you go. Okay, just lock it from a front view, get that lined up. Side view, lined up. Okay. Boom, boom. Make sure you're in rotate. Okay, so what am I lining up? The glenoid cavity and the medial and lateral epicondyles. So I just want to make sure that they've got their correct flow. Okay, let's turn transparency off. And we're flowing too far out on one side. But we're in general in the right place. We could use a twist. So I can get both of them to expose a little bit. You see the little bit that on both sides are exposing. That's going to help me bring it in from there. So I'm done with that. Alright, and we're looking pretty good on that arm length. If I want to do anything, I could just push that up further into that glenoid cavity. But I think I'm okay. Alright, the other thing. They're not grouped. So this gets a little tricky. Probably the easiest thing is just to come in here and auto group. Okay. Rotate, and where am I going to rotate from? Best to rotate along the ulna. That's going to be the pivot point. But I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do some adjustments and placement. Yeah, like that. Okay. There we go. I'm really digging it in to where the olecranon process is going to be pivoting around from. So we've got it deep in there. Hopefully that'll kind of keep it centered. But if it doesn't, it's no big deal. I'm not really sweating it. Plus we have some pronation going on there. But the first thing that I really want to do is line up the ulna. And then I'm going to rotate the radius around that. Alright, so you can see my pivot point wasn't the best. So that's fine. Okay, I've got some unrealistic rotation that I'm doing in there. The rotation at the elbow obviously is not, there's not going to be any rotation. It's going to happen in the shoulder area. In fact, just to be really clear, I'm going to go back. The thing is we most likely haven't started. Yeah, don't let this type of thing get you or stop you, because we most likely there's a lot of room. We weren't medically accurate when we placed it there the first time in terms of its rotation and all that. So to go back in and be medically accurate doesn't seem quite exactly honest to me. So let's get in here. All right, and now we do our pronation. So I'm going to grab the top of that radius and come down. And why don't we spend a little bit of time and just get that right. Normally I don't, but in this case I'm going to see what that does. Center dial. And is that going to be an effective end point? All right. No. Not effective. It's going to rotate around that ulna. Okay. I'm just trying to get this accurate. Let's do this. Oh, I hate that when you accidentally draw it somewhere else, because there's no undos here. Okay, let's not select the center of the bone, but let's select yeah, let's select the center of that. Okay, it looks about right. Come back in slightly and look at it from here. Check it. Okay, remember the muscles are connected to the bone. So we're probably going to want to adjust the model to fit the skeleton. So the chances are when you get this, it'll be all adjusted. But if you're doing your own, you're going to want to go through the same process of adjustment that I go through right now. Okay. Draw mode, clear the mask. Okay. Putting it in the middle of the arm there, although we might tend towards the back side a little bit. But when we extend the arm out, the muscles, all of this, we're going to extend out this portion, these lines here, along the bony part of the wrist. So I want to make sure that I'm projecting out in a way that, or I have the angle right such that the bone just kind of fits right back into place. Okay. Okay. center just to get it lined up accurately. The fingers are a little smaller. We'll leave the fingers there for a fine-tuning stage. Let's get the other arm. Actually, we need to get the other clavicle, and we're at 20 minutes. So I don't know how much this will still be live, but I have a couple of things I need to do. I need to duplicate that scapula over here, because you can see the size difference, right? And so I need to duplicate that. We just have to do that. Or we have to change the sculpt, or something along those lines. You've noticed I've changed the sculpt in some places. I'm changing the bones in others. So it's something you're going to use your own judgment for, and it's definitely a flexible part. So I can't give you 100% the only answer, and I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to do that. You want at this stage with this knowledge to be divining these things yourself. So let's move this into another little segment, and we'll talk about duplicating and moving the other arm.